Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Ironside Take 30 with a Data Advisor. My name is Jeff Spear, and myself and a few other people that you can see will be talking about IBM Advanced Data Prep in action. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Ironside and our background, a quick overview of data wrangling just to provide some context, and then go into features and use cases for Advanced Data Prep. And then have a demo. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A. So please submit your questions either via the question box or we'll unmute the audio toward the end. We welcome your questions and are happy to answer anything that we don't manage to get into during the actual presentation and demo. So at Ironside, we've been around for over 2 decades. We really exist to help you make better decisions about your business. We have a variety of practices which do that, ranging from strategic advisory, design, including experience design, data modeling, governance, master data management, managed services to help run and administer your platforms, as well as build and deploy. And build and deploy is largely what we're talking about today. That's really where sort of data wrangling falls in terms of sort of like actually bringing in data, organizing it, transforming it, and using it to create analytics and derive insight. We partner with the smartest technology. We have some of our friends from Trifacta on this morning talking about IBM Advanced Data Prep. We work with a lot of other technologies as well. So my name is Jeff Spear. I run the information management practice. I've got a little bit of database background and experience. Also on are Dipankar and Dean, who are Trifecta ADP certified consultants to answer any questions in that area, as well as Susie Clark and Vijay from Trifacta. Susie and Vijay will be going through the demo and sort of detailed description of ADP. So this is a slide that we've used in the past when we were talking about data wrangling and how it fits into existing ETL and other types of data integration. So across the top is sort of the traditional ETL where you take data from source systems, you may land it in some sort of operational data store or other intermediate structure. You use ETL tools like DataStage or Informatica to transform that, bring it in, and load it into an enterprise data mart or warehouse with facts and dimensions and star schemas. You know, very, very powerful, very focused on high value use cases, and a lot of work goes into creating that flow. So data wrangling exists in parallel, and so you're going to have data wrangling will often pull data from the same source systems, possibly from the ODS, possibly even from the data mart or data warehouse. There are a few too many arrows to add that here, but basically taking data from wherever it needs to take data, and it's doing that in a more nimble, flexible manner. So you'll have an analyst or a power user who can have a new question come up and quickly wrangle the data to produce self-service analytics. And that's the advantage that data wrangling brings, is being able to do that quickly to answer questions that arise, sort of out of nowhere or spontaneously. And then, but the idea is that there's some give and take. So over time, some of that may make its way back into ETL, and it may even be that data wrangling results, feed into ETL directly, or they come in multiple different ways. And so it's not that data wrangling replaces the traditional ETL model, it's that it complements it. Another way of looking at that is sort of a more of a cyclical approach, where in this diagram, mode 1 is that traditional data warehouse enterprise ETL, mode 2 is data wrangling, more ad hoc analytics. And so the way data wrangling works is, someone becomes aware of a new data source or a new question or a new insight, they're going to explore it, and they're going to develop the value in that new source. And that's where really data wrangling comes in. There's transformation, there's modeling, data maybe needs to be cleansed, needs to be joined to other types of data, and that produces an insight. And sometimes that is a one-off. Sometimes, hey, we need to do this, this audit request or this thing for this client. You do it, you get your insight, and you're done. But sometimes you realize that that has broader value, and it's something that you want to continue to do. And so what you then do is you want to say, okay, well, here's what we did to wrangle it. Let's make that more repeatable, and let's migrate that to the data warehouse, and put that in the data mart make it available to a broader set of users, and have that repeated value be more accessible. And that frees up the wranglers to go on to the next insight, to find some new data source, to find some new question to answer. So instead of being sort of tied down, supporting something that they've already developed, they hand that off and they go to the next thing. And so a tool that allows you to manage and understand and really document, what I did to produce these insights helps with this cycle greatly. And so that's where IBM Advanced Data Prep comes in. So that's sort of a high-level view of the context of data wrangling. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Susie to talk about ADP in particular and where it fits in.
Great, thank you, Jeff, and thank you to the Ironside team for inviting us here today. I'm very excited to be able to speak with you all and talk about our partnership with Ironside and IBM. And so today we're introducing self-service data preparation. Trifacta is an industry-ranked leader in this space. And so we were selected based on 3 different reasons, really, that have kind of shown our leadership in this data preparation spaces. Really, one is kind of making it easier to do data preparation by visual capabilities to navigate data prep, collaborate with your peers, and really do a lot more faster with data. Eliminating the amount of time that it takes to get data ready for analysis and business intelligence, different use cases. We're really able to shrink that amount of time. And then thirdly, being built on a modern stack. So helping, leverage your cloud sort of initiatives and modern stack capabilities that a lot of companies are looking to leverage as part of this journey. And so again, we're really excited. We'll take you through the introduction, and we have a short demo by BJ. Jeff, we're ready for the next slide, please. So as part of our relationship with IBM and Ironside, IBM selected Trifacta because of the complementary nature of our capabilities with their stack. And what they're really looking to do along with partners like Ironside is help customers on this journey to AI. And part of that is really modernizing, putting in place the right tools, solutions, and expertise. And where the red bar is, that is really where Trifacta, or ADP, powered by Trifacta, fits with helping to create a business-ready analytics foundation. Next slide, please. And so what we talk about and see a lot with customers is that getting your data ready for your analytics initiatives is hard. It's challenging. There's a lot of manual efforts, there's coding, there's difficulty getting sort of that value, the time spent on really where the value and the business impact occurs. And so what happens is that customers spend a lot of that time, 80%, trying to get the data ready, trying to organize it, trying to cleanse it and validate it. And there's just really no sort of efficient way to do that unless you have the right tools, the right platforms, and the right expertise. And so really what we're focused on is helping to eliminate that 80% challenge, or that 80% of time that's spent. And one of the main causes for this is this back and forth that happens between IT and line of business, where business has a use case, an initiative where they need to get that data ready. So it might be for an AI initiative or some kind of a business intelligence initiative, reports, and they start to make the request to IT. And then IT provisions the data, makes it available, they get access, and they find that it's not the right format, or they don't have the right types of data blended together. And so there's a lot of that back and forth, and that's what we'll kind of show you as we go through the demo and the overview today, how we can really help solve that problem. And we'll go to the next slide, Jeff. Great. And so again, what we're introducing is the IBM Infosphere Advanced Data Prep, or we like to call it ADP, powered by Trifacta. And what you can see here just with the visual is that you're going to have ML, machine learning driven transformation recommendations, which really kind of help to speed the process. And one of the reasons that this is such a nice fit with IBM's offerings is that, again, it's really kind of a managed solution. You've got lineage, you've got governance, there's visibility, and all of that really helps to make this more of an enterprise scalable capability with self-service, leveraging a modern stack, and making it a lot more efficient for the business to get their data ready. Next slide, Jeff. And so where do we fit within IBM's data and AI portfolio? ADP, as you can see, is on the right-hand side, really focused on self-service. And it's a very nice fit if you look at some of the other offerings from IBM, including Data Stage and Quality Stage and the catalog with Watson Knowledge Catalog. All of this fits very nicely into an overall platform and solution where you have all of the capabilities to help you with modernizing data ops and having a more powerful and scalable enterprise-ready solution. With, again, ADP focusing on self-service for the lines of business, which would be the data scientists, the business analysts, and the data analysts, getting the data ready for the different types of AI, machine learning, and analytics initiatives. And so we're really excited about the opportunity, working closely with Ironside and helping customers to modernize and put in place a solution which will help them scale and really accelerate the analytics with the business. So thank you. I think at the next stage, we're going to go ahead and turn this over to Vijay, who's going to show you ADP in action.
Thank you, Susie and Jeff. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen now. What I'm about to share today is a very quick demo of Advanced Data Prep, or ADP. And we'll be doing this through a marketing analytics use case, where we will be using some data that contains advertising clickstream information as well as some sales data. And we'll be putting it together into a marketing analytics dashboard. So that's what we'll be going through in this demo. Just to showcase our integration into the IBM ecosystem, I'll also be showing how this integrates with a Cognos report. So in this case, this is a marketing analytics dashboard that we are preparing in Cognos. As you can see in this view, I have various tabs created here that show the different pieces of information. This is my before view, before I have actually had a chance to clean up my data. And one of the things I notice is that when I look at my data, I find some problems in the event month column, where I have data for January through October, and then November is missing, and it jumps straight to December. And if I hover over this no value, I can see that there are 4,738 records with no values against them. So obviously that's a problem which we will fix in just a moment. For now, just keep this number in mind, and we will see how to fix that in just a moment. So coming back to ADP, so ADP is our self-service data preparation or data wrangling tool, where we can identify and fix issues with the data, as well as do things like blending and enriching. So I'm going to start by doing just that. Before we dive into that, I also wanted to mention that if you wanted to add additional data sets to your ADP flow, you can easily import them by selecting a data source such as Postgres or SQL Server, or manually uploading files. There are a number of additional connectors that we provide to bring data into the platform. Once that's done, the next logical step is to build a recipe against this data. And a recipe is nothing but a set of transformation steps that are attached to the data. And here you can see that I've opened up my recipe for the advertising clickstream data. And this looks and feels a lot like Excel, where I can start browsing all the data that I have. I can get some helpful metadata that is provided to me by ADP, such as the data types, so I know which fields are dates or integers or strings and so on. I also get, for each column, I get a data quality bar. And here you can see, if I hover over the event time, there is my 4,738 mismatched values. So those are data quality issues that I need to address. Now, the nice thing is I can just click on this, and it will immediately highlight the rows of data that are actually driving this problem. And as you can see, it's the November data that's causing an issue. So we'll fix this in just one moment. I also wanted to call out the value histogram that is available for each and every field that shows the high-level distribution of values that's found within the data. And there's actually a lot more detail. If I drop into the column details view, you'll see that ADP provides a lot of automatic visualizations in terms of how the data is distributed. In this case, it's a date, so I can see breakdowns by month, weekday, day of the month, and so on. I also get summary statistics, top values, as well as mismatched values. So this is interesting. So I see that there are a bunch of error timeout values. These are obviously not valid dates. Notice that as soon as I click on it, I get some suggestions, and these suggestions are driven by machine learning. So I can basically choose this suggestion to delete these rows from my data set. So notice that as soon as I add this to my recipe, I will start to see improvement in my data quality. So this is the real-time feedback that you get as you process the data. And my view immediately refreshes to so my error timeout are no longer present, and my data quality starts to show improvement. I can now flip to the patterns tab, and we will address the issue that we saw before with the November data. As you can see here, ADP has discovered that in most cases, the data is represented in a 2-digit month pattern. But in the case of November, it's actually spelled out like that. I can select the pattern that I want to standardize on, and notice that I get a suggestion, again, driven by machine learning. And I can basically just add this to my recipe. And what that does is it applies all the pattern conversion logic behind the scenes, and it will standardize all my data to the pattern that I just selected. So it's basically found 14 different pattern matching and conversion algorithms and automatically applied all of that. So doing this manually would require writing a lot of code to discover and convert these patterns. All of that was done in a single click. So hopefully that gives a quick preview of the power of the platform. I'm quickly going to show a couple of additional things in this data set where I extract some key bits of information to put on my dashboard. So one of the pieces of information I'm interested in is actually embedded in this URL, which is the source of this clickstream. Now, ADP already understands that this is a URL. So if I simply select the column, I can use the suggestions to drive my transformations. And one of the suggestions that comes up is to pull out the domain of this URL into its own column. So I can simply select that and add that to my recipe. Notice that I get a preview of what's being extracted. And once I apply it, I have my recipe step that makes this repeatable. And I have my domain URL in its own column. I can now rename this and call it source. And so now I have my source in its own column. So now that I have cleaned up some of these issues with my data, as well as included my source column, I can now go ahead and join this data to the rest of my sales data. And I'm going to do just that. So I'm going to do a join. And keep in mind, this is actually joining to data that originated from a relational database. I can quickly join different pieces of information regardless of where it came from. And ADP will also automatically recommend the proper join key for me to use. So notice that it has discovered that user ID in one table is equal to customer key on the other table. And by default, it's suggesting to do an inner join. I could, of course, choose a different kind of join if I wanted. And I can also choose what columns I want to keep in my data set. I'm simply going to choose all the columns and basically just perform the join right here. So once I add this join to my recipe, what that basically does is it records all the steps in order to perform this join in a repeatable fashion based on the criteria that I just mentioned. And at this point, I can see the output of the join result. And I can also, if I go back to my flow view, you'll notice that it represents the two data sets coming together like this. So I can, at this point, create some outputs. And since my objective is to actually create a Cognos dashboard, I can choose to persist this data into a relational database, in this case, SQL Server. And I can basically run a job that will persist that into the SQL Server database ready for Cognos to pick up. At the end of this process, you will get an output profile that looks like this. And now that the data, as you can see, it has produced 300,000 rows of output. It's ready to be consumed by Cognos. So my final step is to come full circle back into Cognos. And in Cognos, you can see that I've regenerated the same report. And now I have my month data, and this is now clean. So it has my November data showing up correctly. I can also show other visualizations such as profit by state, order value by year, and sales by source. Now that I have this end-to-end flow completed, I also have the capability to schedule this for ongoing operations. So with that, I will conclude the demo and I will turn it back to Jeff to open it up for Q&A.
Thank you very much, Vijay. All right, so we have a couple questions, and let me just take a look. So the first question we got is, how does ADP integrate with Cloud Pak for Data? I think that's for Vijay, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so Cloud Pak for Data is the overall packaging that IBM offers into which ADP fits in. And the way we deploy into Cloud Pak for Data is as an add-on. So, Cloud Pak for Data comes with its own installation of Red Hat OpenShift, and we basically add on to that as a module. Susie, did you want to add on to my answer?
Yeah, of course, Vijay, thank you. So, so at the current time, we have Red Hat OpenShift Container Platform, or ROCP, as one of our deployment options, in addition to Hadoop. And then we're going to become an add-on officially with part numbers for the Cloud Pak for Data in the August summer timeframe. So we're doing that integration work now. Great,
thank you. The next question is, how do you differentiate ADP from ETL tools like DataStage?
So I'll go briefly on that one. So DataStage, being an ETL solution that is offered by IBM, we are a complementary capability. We believe that that you need to have both, most likely depending on your architecture and your requirements. DataStage tends to be used by data engineers and IT and provisioning the data in a landing place, such as a data warehouse or a data lake. And then from there, ADP has the ability to provide self-service for more of a business user. So the difference is really kind of who the persona is that's using the solution, and then some of the capabilities that are going to be more matched towards data preparation for self-service versus a data engineer and provisioning that data. Vijay, you could go into a little bit more on sort of the technical nuances between the two.
Yeah, so I think, Susie, you nailed it in terms of the difference being the persona of who's using it. So data preparation is something that is really meant to be self-service and empowering the business user, and gives the ability for the end user to do things like in an exploratory manner, build the recipes, and also go full scale to even run them in production through scheduled jobs and calling APIs and things like that. So it does empower the business user in a very significant way. And that really complements what ETL tools provide for the more technical audience.
Excellent, thank you. I've got a related question. How extensive is the transformation capabilities that you can do in ADP? You know, how much versus other tools, or like ETL tools or other data wrangling tools?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So ADP was really designed to do self-service data transformation. So in terms of the transformation layer, the capabilities that you will find in ADP are very advanced. And there are all kinds of advanced things you can do for processing large amounts of data. There are a number of built-in functions that are provided out of the box. And also the machine learning driven suggestions that you saw during the demo. That's a key differentiator that you don't find in other tools out there. In addition, it is also extensible. So you can create things like macros within ADP to go beyond what's out of the box, as well as register your own user-defined functions. So in terms of a transformation capability perspective, there is a lot of richness and also a lot of extensibility to go beyond what's out of the box. Where ADP complements other ETL tools well is when it comes to things like data ingestion or more of the traditional IT workloads, which are more about moving data rather than transforming it. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'd like to add a quick point here. I mean, as Vijay said, the transformation is very rich. It has machine learning driven and AI driven transformation that it gives, and it almost like reads your mind, like to do what kind of transformation that you want to do. So without much of technical knowledge, you can basically clean the data, as Susie showed in her slide, that we spend almost 80% of our time in cleaning the data, discovering the data. So that richness in this ADP tool is one of the key differentiators that I believe that I have used.
Okay, and then to add on to that, the good thing about being able to kind of distribute that work and get people to do that kind of work is then you can then centralize that, and then you can make that kind of standard piece that goes through. So people are doing their own work, but you're able to control it, and you're able to standardize it to the point that people don't have to reinvent wheels after the first person has gone through the data. So it's very collaborative, which is kind of different for a tool like this.
Thank you, Dean. The next question is another Cloud Pak question. How would you differentiate ADP from the Data Refinery Data Prep that's integrated with WKC?
So I'll just respond. With our partnership with IBM, we get that question quite a lot. And Data Refinery comes as part of Watson Knowledge Catalog, and it's really meant to be a starting point for data preparation, which is really good, right? That's sort of validating that there is a need to help prepare data, get it ready, for usage by the business. However, Data Refinery is somewhat limited in terms of its breadth of capabilities. And whereas ADP powered by Trifacta is really viewed as more of the golden standard. So when you do have requirements for collaborative capabilities, machine learning driven, guided capabilities to really accelerate data preparation, and really being able to do more advanced techniques around data validation and transformation and data quality, that's really where ADP would be a better fit versus Data Refinery.
All right, thank you, Susie. I think we've hit the top of the half hour. So I just wanted to talk quickly about what's coming up in the Take30 world. We've got our Take30 with a BI expert tomorrow. And then after that, we're going to be continuing the Take30 series in a slightly different on a slightly different schedule. We're going to take the Thursday time slot and we're going to sort of alternate that between BI expert, data advisor, and data scientist. We have a series of things coming up. And then on the Tuesday time slot, we're going to have a couple different sort of dedicated topics that will sort of go into more detail on a series on a particular theme or subject area. So look for that schedule coming out shortly. And then also we have our one-on-one calls. So if you want to talk to a data scientist, a data advisor, or a BI expert, there's a link on our website, and we invite you to register for that, to have a quick conversation, to answer any detailed questions you might have. And with that, I think we're through. Thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.